Security Halt podcast is proudly sponsored by Titan SARS, Precision Wellness Group, and Pure Liberty Labs. I feel bad for the 18 Echoes. You guys have so much to deal with, but it's never like it's the unsung hero. You need fucking comms for a mission.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have the SATCOM up, but none of that shit's ever sexy. So guys are always shitting on the Echoes and their capabilities until you're doing your combo circle, and it's like, I can't fix my own radio. It's like, I need an 18 Echo. Yeah, unsung heroes of the force, man.
Thankless. When it's down, everybody hates you. When it's up, nobody cares. That's how it's supposed to be.
Get my red side up.
Yep.
JD, welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Thanks, brother. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well, man. It's great to see guys that are still in and doing great things to help bring about the next wave, next generation of Green Berets. We talk about a lot of things on the show: mental health, resilience, grit. But one of the greatest things we can do for our own sake is mentorship. How do we bridge that gap and help usher in the next generation of great warfighters? And I think what you're doing and what all your friends are doing is helping bring that out in a big way. Right now in social media, all of us have access to each other. And I couldn't imagine a greater group of guys for young men to reach out to and engage with, to ask, how do I achieve this unachievable dream? How do I achieve the impossible? So today, man, I want to dive into your journey, but I also want to dive into why you started this, why you guys came up with the idea of like, hey, let's gather around and bring the next generation of next great soft Green Berets into the fold.
Yeah, 100%, man. Thank you for having me. First and foremost, that means a lot coming from you. I'm definitely stoked to be here. I think what you've built is super cool. And I've learned a lot. You've had some titans on your show, as you know, Chuck Ritter, Earl, you've had some great ones. So really excited to be here. So I appreciate it. A little bit of backstory, I guess, for myself. I grew up in Nevada, in Las Vegas, and was kind of a hood rat, getting into any and all the trouble you can imagine,
Yeah.
And I've heard you talk about it before. There's something to this career field, especially SF, that kind of attracts broken people.
Absolutely, man.
And yeah, I experienced that. I mean, as a kid, my parents separated when I was young, and it took a lot later in life to realize maybe how that affected how I treated people, how I looked at people, how I thought about myself, stuff like that. But everything happens for a reason, and thank God that it did. My parents were awesome about it. They never sought to tear each other down, in that regard. So, and I gained some additional family members out of it, stepbrother, half brother, that kind of thing. But
yeah,
in no way could I have imagined being where I am today. Very grateful for everything that, God has given me and put in my life. To get out of Las Vegas for whatever reason, I had a little bit of an understanding. My moral compass, I think, was pinged near the end of high school, and I just knew I wanted to get out. And in my hubris and with my delusions of grandeur, I joined the Navy on a BUDS contract.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, at 18. And very quickly, I was physically prepared for it, but very quickly I was humbled, and that was one of the first big life lessons that I learned. Went through a large portion of first phase in BUDS, for those that are familiar with what that looks like. And it's just nothing but suck. And I pulled the trigger and I left that behind, rang the bell, did the whole DOR thing. And that haunted me for a long time, as a young kid. Took a big hit to my ego. Definitely affected the rest of my career. I went on to have a pretty awesome career after that, though. I was able to reclass, luckily. Still had a 6-year contract, became an air rescue swimmer, served as a crew chief.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, the back of H-60s. It was cool. It was cool until it wasn't,
Those guys don't get a lot of credit, man. That takes a lot of guts to do that job, man.
It is a cool job, man. And it was fun. Some of my best friends that I'm still in group chats with today are from that community. Great guys, great individuals. It wasn't for me in the long term, especially with that desire that I buried for a little bit for special operations into the future, So served out the 6 years, got my deployment out of the way with the Navy in that one. Ended up getting out in 2012 and spent a lot of time racking up some more failures, as you can imagine, as a bearded, dirty civilian. And somewhere along the way, around 6 or 7 years into it, maybe a little less than that, I realized I was getting older. I was, coming up on 30 years old,
Yeah.
and nothing was working out for me in the civilian world, and I missed the structure. I missed the military in general, and I wanted to get back in. So I started doing some research, and I was bit by the special operations bug, as you know, and that doesn't go away. And I realized that I was either going to live with the regret of not knowing, not trying again, or I could give it a shot. Big chance that I was going to fail again, but at least I would know and try. And so I started doing research and was really interested in the combat controller route and the Air Force special warfare. That had me gripped,
Yeah.
And but luckily, somewhere along the way between deciding I wanted to get back in and actually doing it, I lived out here in Florida, adjacent to a company you're probably familiar with, GoRuck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good guys, man. And I didn't know much, but I got roped into one of their events, one of the 12-hour rucking events. Had never rucked before in my life. Got yelled at immediately for having too light of a pack.
You will never forget that in selection.
No, that did. Luckily, it happened in GoRuck event, not actual selection. But that was my first exposure to Green Berets, and I had no idea what the Army had to offer. And after that event, I immediately started doing research and kind of put that in my back pocket. But I thought something that was really cool about Special Forces, after looking into it and learning about the broad mission set and what the ODA does and what it looks like, and just I'm kind of obsessive when it comes to that kind of stuff. And so I dug in really deep and was like, man, the quiet professionals, like I spent the better part of a decade thinking about and aspiring for special operations, and somehow I never stumbled across the Green Berets. So that quiet professional moniker was playing out in real time in front of my eyes, So when I decided I want to get back in, things didn't work out with the Air Force, and I learned about the SF National Guard component. And it's like, wow, so I get this kind of pick my own adventure. That's how it was painted for me. I get to kind of go and get fully qualified and do everything and be capable of everything that an active duty Green Beret would be capable of, but I could do it on my own terms, and be able to build a civilian career and be more at home with the family and stuff like that. So like I said, it was pretty obsessive. Figured out how to go through the whole MEPS route again. And 3 weeks after I was cleared for MEPS, I shipped off for infantry OSUT and got my butt kicked every day, learning how to Army. Had a pretty interesting qualification course. Being an older guy, I went through at 31. So I always tell the guys I train and other people that contact me, I graduated with gray hairs. So if I can do it, chances are you can do it too.
But there's an advantage too, though, of being mature. Like that's one thing I realized, like there's an advantage in any age that you go in, whether you're a young guy, cause you got, you're straight off the street, 18 X-ray, you don't have any bad habits. You're clay, bud. You can get molded into the perfect guy we need you to be. If you're a senior, more seasoned individual, you've got life experience, man. You were talking about failure, and we don't say this enough, but failure is part of the process, man. Like it's part of the scientific method. Like you're going to fail at something. Scientists have figured out that failure is part of the path. If you're going to reach and strive for greatness, you got to embrace a failure, man. I mean, don't go in it expecting to fail, but understand that if you stumble, you fall down, you don't get through the first pipeline. All right, first hit right in the face. What am I going to do? Do I get up, or am I going to sit here and sulk? And I have to imagine, man, like approaching the Q course, already knowing that like, fuck, a beast already slayed me. I already got my fucking, my metal tested. Well, how's it going to be this time? Did you find yourself going in with reservation or having a little bit of trepidation or fear? Or were you able to finally say, you know what? New path. I'm leaving this shit behind me.
That's a good question. And that was something I wanted to hit on and I missed, but there was about a 10-year period between being 18 and around 28 years old or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. I didn't grow up with faith or, being a Christian or believing any of that. And at some point in that rock bottom phase between getting out of the Navy and getting into the Army, I started asking and I think humbly seeking the truth. And I came to realize that I believe in Jesus and I believe and I have faith. And I'm a practicing Catholic myself and my whole family. So I know you are as well. So
yes,
that was another huge reason I was excited to come talk to you.
Yeah, man. This episode is brought to you by Titan SARMs. Head on over to titansarms.com and buy a stack today. Use my code CDenny10 to get your first stack. I recommend the Lean Stack 2. Start living your best life. Titan SARMs. No junk, no bullshit, just results.
But I stopped defining myself by that failure at some point. And I realized that it was a huge lesson learned, and I was grateful for all of those things. Now I shifted my mindset where I was ashamed before I had realized that was the fuel that I needed. And that, I think, combined with my faith and believing that I believe that, as you know, God has a perfect will and a permissible will.
Yep.
And I just want to align myself with his will in one way or another. And I know that he loves us and he knows our heart, and he wants for us to have what we want, provided it falls within one of those categories. Right. And so I think there were enough signs along the way, be it from my amazing wife and her support, her family, my family, and little things along the way that just kind of seemed to click, and only that a way that I think God could line it out for me. And I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be here. I remember putting on the OCPs for the first time in OSIT, and just looking down and looking at all the chaos and just thinking like this, I put it on, like, this is what I'm supposed to have on me. You know what I mean? This is my armor. This is my uniform, and kind of a crappy situation. I think that happened there is prior service guys are supposed to go through kind of an expedited version of OSIT. And I didn't get that. I didn't know that.
Shit.
and my recruiter did not know that, I guess. And when I got there, I was at day 0.
Oh,
and then I didn't know until about just about turning green, right? You graduate the Army portion of it, 12 dudes roll in their prior service. I'm like, oh, who are you guys? Why have I been here? But it was cool, man. It gave me an opportunity. I needed it. I was terrified of land navigation. I was scared of rucking. I was, a lot of things in the Army that just set, I was facing those dragons. And so I had rapport with all the other recruits, with the drill sergeants, stuff like that. So again, one of those situations where it's I went through some extra stuff, but I was grateful for it.
It's part of God's plan. It's understanding that, wait a second, I could have showed up at this phase, but look back, well, I could have showed up after all this, but would have been a benefit for me in this journey, would have been a benefit, or is it better for me to have gone through every part of the phase, got to know these kids, got to learn from them, got to understand a different set of the Army values, started land navving and understanding okay, maybe it sucked a little bit, but there's rewards here. There's a benefit of it. Absolutely, man. It's important to highlight this because I often find myself talking with guys that are like me. We found our faith afterwards, but going through this and having your faith, man, that's something that you can rely on. That's an extra voice in here and in here, that when you're in your absolute lowest, you can take a knee, you can pray the rosary, or whatever outlet you need. You can say to yourself, deep breath, I got this. I'm not alone.
Yep.
Or for a vast majority, we were going through this and relied on anger, relied on sheer determination of I'm not fucking quitting. Yeah. It's the quiet resolve. That's the man that you want to eventually lead your team, or eventually become the quiet resolve. The man that doesn't have to turn into the false anger or tap into that false emotion that you can just say, no, this is for me. I'm going to get through it regardless of what comes my way. I'm going to fight through. I'm going to persevere. And that's a powerful fucking dude right there, man.
Yeah. It definitely, it helped. It shaped me, being older, like you said, you're younger, comes with benefits. Being older, it also comes with some benefits. And if you could hold on to your fitness into later years in your life, I'll take the latter any day. I tell candidates, I've got some young guys, I got some older dudes, and I let them know, the young guys, you're expected to be immature. You're going to have to prove the cadre, the inverse. And then the opposite is true for the older dudes. You're expected to be mature. You're going to have to, rise up and obviously pass the gates and all the physical aspects. You got to be a stud. They have to know that they can rely on you physically. You're not going to break, but they're expecting to see something out of you. And if you don't show it, that's going to be a ding on you for being older. So.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I would imagine making it through infantry, you go to airborne school, you're getting wins. What was it like finally getting to Bragg and starting the Q course?
It was humbling. Bragg's a big place, as you know. but I was definitely very grateful. I felt like from the moment I got bussed up there, I was on hollowed ground, and that just compounded even more when I got out to Camp McCall. And I was one of the ones that was up and excited on the bus, looking out the windows, and taking, unapproved photos of the street signs and stuff, just stoked to be there, just absolutely stoked. And that was the prep course, was able to go through that, which was definitely a blessing for somebody like me. It helped definitely give me another look, another rep. I was met with issue after issue though, man, the Q course. And at the end of the prep course, we're out there at land navigation for the last night iteration. And that's where the cadre ordered pizza, and like everybody's kind of ready to just finish land nav, get a day off Thursday. I think the next Friday morning was like the 12-mile ruck test, and then you go back to Bragg and then class up for selection. I had some issues. My stomach started hurting. I didn't know what it was. And I remember getting paired up with a battle buddy to do the last night iteration. I was like, look, man, I don't know what's going on with my stomach, but how intent are you on finding these points? And so we did it though. We trucked through. I think we felt like 3 out of 4 or something like that, and then pack up. And you know how it is, late night, they're shoving you on the back of the LMTVs and busting you back, whatever. Well, I slept until about noon the next day because they gave us kind of an off day. Yeah. And my buddies were like, what's going on? Like, wake up, man. I think you need to go get checked out. Like something might be up, because I guess I slept through them trying to wake me up for breakfast and all this stuff. So I go to the medic. He sends me to the actual doc out there, and he did some palpitations, and he knew exactly what was going on real quick. But apparently my appendix had ruptured.
Yeah, I was going to say appendix, fuck.
Mm-hmm. Being old. And I had no thoughts of that, dude. I was like, I'm constipated from these MREs or something, like, you know what I mean? But meanwhile, I'm dying.
Running a fever. It's got to be these MREs.
It can't be anything, And
I was in the same fucking thing.
Dude, I'm telling you, I was so, like, again, just being grateful though. Like, I tell people when I tell them that story, and I follow it up with like, that could have happened at any other time, too early, and I would have failed PC and had to do it again, too late. Nope. And if at selection, I definitely wouldn't have said anything to anybody. I could have died. Yeah. So, but after going down for that surgery, it kicked the can down the road for selection for me. And then COVID was on the heels of that after selection and all these other things. So,
oh shit. It was during that time frame. Oh, damn.
Yeah. Early 2020, that time frame. Damn. And then, it was just one thing after another. But like you said, I don't think I would have survived off of just hate and pride and anger, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah. I would imagine there's a lot of nights of prayer. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah. That's
another reconciliation too.
Yeah. It's funny. Like my wife is like, I call her the family oracle, because she's always has like an additional prayer for an additional thing that I'm going through. It's like, oh, small business, there's a saint for that.
Yes.
Like there's problem with the computer, there's a saint for that. Like there's always
Philip Neary, man. When I learned about Philip Neary, the patron saint of special forces, he was my bro. Yes. That was my battle buddy.
Yeah, dude. There's a power in coming at your lowest moment, where you think you're absolutely alone, where you think you're at the absolute rock bottom. There is a power in coming to Jesus, coming to Mary and praying, man. And if it's an injury, if it's whatever it is, whatever you're going through, it's happening to your faith, man. Like it's one thing to believe, but it's another to actually sit down, get on your knees, and just pray the rosary or pray, man. Give yourself some comfort, some release, because we tend to think that we own this problem, that we own this issue. You can't force your body to heal faster after a surgery, but you can give yourself some mental reprieve by praying, hey, I can't control this. I can't control when I get back in the pipeline. I'm just asking for your help. I'm asking for you to be here with me to make this happen. Don't let me fall out by the wayside. Don't let some angry cadre friggin' strike my name and send me somewhere in 80 seconds.
Yep.
When you put that all that unknown into God, and you say, hey, here's what I'm dealing with, please take it from me. You feel yourself finally take a deep breath and say, hey, it's not in my control. Mm-hmm. What I can do is I can follow the doctor's orders. I can not rush out of bed and try to do sit-ups and push-ups, do something crazy, and understand that I have somebody watching over me. There's somebody who is out there watching over me. He has a plan. I have to trust in his will. I have to trust and let it go. Is that something that you found yourself doing in that time period? Because I would imagine the recovery is at least a couple of weeks, right?
It was. So actually, if you receive any sort of puncture to the abdomen, it's a 6-month down minimum. Yeah. So that put that
Damn.
6-month window. So all my buddies went on and they all got selected. That was another thing too, statistically, right? You're with this
Yeah.
group of guys. I met a bunch of awesome dudes in airborne, came really close. There was like 9 or 10 of us. I think like 8 of the 9 of the other ones had gone through selection at that point, all got selected. I was like, all right, well,
Yep.
obviously I'm not getting selected because statistically we aren't all going to make it, you know?
Yeah.
But same like you just said, like, yeah, you're not going through it alone. And you can tell, and then God knows your heart, right? But he wants you to come to him and bring those issues to him and say, I don't understand, but I'm willing to do what you're asking of me. What does that look like?
This episode is also brought to you by Precision Wellness Group. Getting your hormones optimized shouldn't be a difficult task, and Dr. Taylor Bosley has changed the game. Head on over to precisionwellnessgroup.com, enroll, and become a patient today.
And a lot of it, like you said, was definitely slowing myself down and taking an extra knee when I felt like I could go and start building myself back up. And it was definitely very helpful. And same with my wife. I know her prayers carried me through, my family and my friends and stuff like that. So absolutely beneficial. And to the guys that I mentor and that we talk to and we coach, the ones that is their proclivity, I encourage them to really lean on that first and foremost.
Yes.
That's first, family second, and then your country. Being a Green Beret is actually third. And only because you put that in that right order can you be the best Green Beret and live up to your full potential. Or at least that's what I believe in, and try to encourage them to lean into themselves.
It's I want to pause and reflect on that right there, man. Like we tend to hyper focus on the career, the Green Beret, what we want to become, what we want to achieve. And oftentimes when we look for a mentor, we're only looking for somebody to give us information about an obstacle, a phase in the Q course. But what we need is strong men that are willing to help us understand the importance of being well-rounded. It's not just about becoming a Green Beret. It's about becoming a great man. A good man isn't good enough. You have to become a great man. Help develop us like as we come to you as a mentor, as a fitness influencer. When men come to you, young men come to you, help them find what it means to be a great man. And we don't have enough people talking about that. It's not just focusing on one small target. It's multiple targets. Like, how do we become the best version of ourselves? Because when you get that guy through the Q course, you don't want him to just be good at selection, just good at being, the perfect candidate. We want them to be good men, great men, and be able to provide the force with that new culture. That's something that we don't talk about enough. The GWAT era created a lot of issues because we didn't have real mentorship, man. Guys were falling by the wayside. Guys were bitter. Guys were angry. And it's very much, hey, focus on your fucking job. Mm-hmm. Focus on doing what I need you to do, being the best at this job. But there wasn't a lot of like true goodness being provided to that young individual coming through. Very, very few. And one of the few things that we don't talk about is that faith, that ability to talk about everything else. It's not just about being good at the weapon system, being good at the radios. It's about being a good and a great man. And that needs to come across somewhere. And I'm glad you guys are doing that, man, because that's going to give them something to fall back on when they inevitably meet an obstacle that they can't pass on the first try.
Yep. No, it's huge. You absolutely hit the nail on the head. And it's a very hard thing to do too, because like, what does that actually mean? Because I fail continuously now, all the time. And it's just, I guess it's just about picking yourself back up, and applying yourself. Like at selection, I tell guys, you get spot reports. And I remember at the end of my selection, I had some buddies and pretty comfortable with each other. And like in our heads, we're racking up how many spot reports we think we have. And I'm like, tell me I'm going to be okay, man. Tell me I'm going to make it. And he's like, you're going to make it, dude. Now you tell me I'm going to make it. We're like hyping each other up.
So true, man.
I tell guys, it's like, they're not looking for perfection. They're looking for the guys that if, you're going to make mistakes, then the whole man concept, right? But what do you do with that mistake? Do you make the same mistake twice? That's where it starts to get dangerous. You're not showing adaptability, coachability, that kind of thing. So those little things, man, like you said, people come often looking for like some specific insight. And I was the same way. I didn't have any mentors, I mustered up the courage to reach out to one of the Green Beret Go Cadre before I left and asked him for any advice. He's like, "You want me to give you advice?" I was like, "Yeah, I mean, you don't have to give anything away, but like, what would you recommend?" I think about. He's like, "When you get to land navigation, don't be afraid to walk a little extra to go around the draws or take the high ground." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And then that was it. That's all I got. I was like, "Damn, dude." Sweet. Love it. Yeah. I asked, you delivered. So, and I didn't ask anybody else, I didn't have the courage to really approach her. I didn't want to tell anybody what I was doing, like you said, coming.
There's a fear. There's a fear if I talk about it or I engage that I'm going to put it out in the universe and then it's not going to happen for me.
Yep.
There's
or people expect it. And then I come back and they're like, "Hey, what happened about that thing?" I'd rather them just not know. So that's kind of how I try to approach it, man. I try to give people some of the intangibles. Definitely no G2. Like, it's not going to help you at all.
Yeah.
It didn't help me when I thought it was going to be run, ruck, and it was like the first thing, ruck. I was like, wait, whoa, everything I know is just, I need to put it out of my head.
What?
Yeah. Because I'm going to have to adapt out here, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for, your character, your intellect, and your physical capability, and they measure that against the RSOF attributes. And I tell my guys, look at it like those are buckets, and at the end of selection, you should find yourself getting selected and moving on to the Q course if all those buckets are more than halfway full,
Yeah.
And you haven't shown any real integrity issues or immaturity issues or anything like that. And also, getting selected does not mean you arrived by any means.
Yeah.
You're in the Q course, and that's it. You just get to try out. That was your ticket, just to give it a shot. And then getting your beret does not mean you've arrived. Once you get to your team, nobody cares.
Yeah.
That you have a hat that's the same color as theirs. So you got to prove yourself every day, earn it every day. And I try to instill in guys to do that starting now. Like, you don't have to be a Green Beret to think like one. That's not stolen valor by any means.
Yeah.
Own your mistakes. Try to improve your character. Obviously, be a man of your word, and be really fit.
Yeah.
Day in and day out.
Yeah, the character piece right there, that's a great one that a lot of people don't talk about. And I often get guys that reach out and, "Hey, can I plug you in with my nephew, my son? They want to go to selection." And the big thing people focus on, I've had young men that reach out, it's like, "Hey, should I go into a bulk phase before I go to selection?" I'm like, "I'm calling you out, dude. I'm just saying that was a really dumb question." And he kept asking it, I kept telling them, I'm like, "No, absolutely not. But more importantly, where's your mindset? What's your character like? How would your friends and family describe you? Ask those hard questions. Sit down in front of somebody and say, hey, honest audit. How good of a human being have I been to you as a friend, as a son? Like, what are some things?" And don't sugarcoat it. Am I a person that you would rely on? And if those friends and family members say, "Hey man, like, you don't come through, you don't follow through with anything that you do, like, you leave us hanging, you don't work as hard as you think you do," like, all those things, write them down, take them into account. And it's not to be, not for it to hurt you, but to make you think about, how can I improve? Because these attributes, these characteristics, they're going to shine through. And you don't have to start the Q course today, tomorrow. You don't have to go to selection. If you're a young person, take the time, be methodical, mold yourself into the man that you need to be, the man that you need to be a husband, a father down the road. You don't have to be perfect today. You never have to be perfect. And hey, guess what? You never will be. But you can work towards being the best version of yourself. And it starts with that honest broker, and that will do far more for you in selection, in the Q course, than worrying about a bulk phase.
Yeah, the physical, man. That's another thing. That's a great point. Like, we want to focus on the physicality because we can see those results. We can measure the push-ups, we can measure the pull-ups. It's tangible. It's not as scary to just show up and be like, "Yeah, I'm out of shape," or "My run is slow." But if you're saying like, "Hey, am I a person of integrity? Am I a team player? Personal responsibility, professionalism, all that." And to have somebody, you mentioned them saying like, "You don't come through," or "No, you're not as committed as you say you are, or you think you are." Like, those are the people you want around to be able to be honest with you. Because most people are just going to blow smoke, and because at the same time they're thinking in their head like, "I don't want that mirror held up for me." either,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
So, that's definitely the biggest piece that I tell guys, because there's our physical training methodology is somewhat unconventional, you know, to compared to I think what I've seen that's out there. But I also tell guys it's not the end all be all. Like there's 100 different ways to get physically ready. As long as you pick a program, know your weaknesses, work on your weaknesses every day, improve 1 to 2%, like depending on your timeline, you're going to get there to where you can exceed those standards.
Yeah.
But a lot of really fit guys find themselves at the end of selection being 21-day non-selects because they didn't work on those character traits.
This episode is brought to you by Pure Liberty Labs. Quality supplements designed to elevate your health and performance. Check out their full line of quality supplements, whether you're looking for whey protein, pre-workout, creatine, or a super greens drink. Pure Liberty Labs has you covered. Use my code SecurityHalt10 at checkout today.
And at the end of selection too, they're not going to tell you those things. None of those cadre really care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not their job. Like you just showed up for the challenge or for the job interview or whatever. They're going to tell you yes or no, and they're moving on to the next. They got their own lives, you know? So, it's much better, like you said, to learn those things prior, than coming from, you know, failure and then feeling lost. And, you know, I've seen guys do some crazy things for getting even 6-month returns, you know? So.
Yeah, man. And I want to dive into forming this, into creating this. You make it through the Q course. At what point did you look in the mirror or sit down with friends and realize like, hey, we can do something more for the next group of guys?
Honestly, I wish it was that noble. It was being in the National Guard. I didn't have much else to fall back on, and honestly, it started out Force Multiplier Fitness, which we're now Force Multiplier Training Solutions. But I was leaning more into like high ticket civilian coaching and mentorship. Yeah, I wouldn't even call it mentorship at that point. It was just fitness and coaching that I wanted to build into the business. But then it started to grow word of mouth through the training company that's down here. We have opportunities every month for guys to come through and do a little 4-day special forces evaluation.
Man, that's one thing I absolutely fucking love about the National Guard. Come try out.
Yep.
Come hang out and come try out. Kudos to you guys, man. That is like, I don't know why the fuck active duty hasn't figured that shit out.
they could learn something from it, I think, because it's a great opportunity. We weed out. I think it's because there's a vested interest, right? They're going to have to pay the way for the guys that go up there. The state will or whatever, you know, whatever the reason that they do it. But it is such a great opportunity to come and put yourself out there in a low threat environment. Like it's going to feel heavy, you know, but you can go through as many SFREs as you're willing to put yourself through, and that's not going to affect selection, you know, once you get up there. But yeah, when I started getting some interest from guys that were not doing so well, and somehow along the way it just shifted. And I'd owned a gym in the past, in between getting out of the Navy and getting the Army, and ended up selling that. But I had kind of fallen out of love with it, and I was willing to try it again, because I found that I cared a little bit more than most of my clients cared about their situations. And I'm all for helping people, but there's something about it that I want to see people that want to help themselves first, and then I can kind of help fill some gaps and help them. I don't want to have to hold their hand. I don't want to care more about their situation than they do. But I was willing to give it a shot again because it was what I knew, you know, out of the Q course, and I didn't have a full-time National Guard position at that time. So I was, you know, deciding what to do, you know, balancing that with maybe the police department, maybe the fire department or whatever, you know, typical jobs that guys get. And it just molded and shifted into more of a prep only, you know, for guys just joining the military, special operations in general. Got a couple guys that going for the Marines, guy that's trying to go to the Navy. But most guys, you know, I try to stick to, you know, what I know, with the special forces. It shifted into that, and I really am enjoying it again, you know, training people, mentoring people. It helps me too. I tell the guys all the time, like, talking with them, I've become friends with a lot of them. Like one of my buddies he's an SUT right now, but he drove down and hit me up. He's like, I'm bringing my jet skis. You want to bring your son out and go jet skiing? And like become friends with these guys, you know, and it's super cool. Shout out to all of them. And, I really enjoy it, and I want to see them succeed because they're good dudes. And that's another thing I think the National Guard does really well. it'll pull quality guys out of the
Yeah.
workforce because they wouldn't normally commit to an Army full-time career, right? Because they've got really good job, really good,
Yes.
making good money. They're smart. But the National Guard, they're willing to go through a couple years of training and then be able to do it part-time. So I think, that is one aspect where the National Guard is really, really strong in pulling guys that are, you could say, overqualified in some of the regards. They're nailing the ASVAB on the first try, and they know what it's like to be challenged in the real world
Yeah.
and the business world and stuff like that. So, and we've got quite a few of those guys in our pipeline. So,
Yeah. One of the things that we hear a lot, and it's a negative thing that just gets, I think every generation deals with it, but specifically right now, we attack our young men, and we tend to identify them as being weak, being frail, being the online generation, being the basement dwellers. What have you seen firsthand from this new generation of young men, and how are they showing up trying to become the next great Green Beret?
yeah, I don't really buy that too much. As I get older and I get more gray
Yeah.
hairs and creeping up on 40, I'm more inclined to be like that. Like, oh, the
Yeah.
next generation is so soft and this kind of thing, but there's a lot of good guys now, and arguably it's harder for them to be good and
Yeah.
and strong now, right? Because the world is so catering to anything and everything that is not challenging. So I I see that as, especially the ones that reach out to us,
Mhm.
they're already somewhat of a self-starter. They're already trying to go down this path on their own, and typically they've exhausted a certain amount of their own researching abilities. And nowadays, I think it arguably could be said that the mentorship and this business model is maybe more needed than ever because there's so much information to digest that it's kind of hard to pick and choose and know what's actually accurate or what's going to help you. And I think that the one-on-one model, or the model where you're actually engaging with cadre or with a mentor,
Yeah.
is super valuable too, because you need that tailored approach, and that's what we try to do too. I kind of, going back to what I was saying about um, wanting people that want to help themselves when it comes to the physical aspects of it. Our methodology, when they run through the program, will hold their hands a little bit in the beginning, but I want them to kind of take ownership of their training. I'm not right there with them like I
Yeah.
was, when I owned a gym, right? So I can have them video submissions for movement mechanics and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they need to be able to make decisions, and it would be a shame for anybody to make it through the Q course and onto a team that had to have their hand held all
Oh,
the way to get
absolutely. Yeah.
there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So uh, I think there's a strong case to be made that this generation is going to rise to the occasion for whatever comes next.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's all about being able to find individuals such as yourself, or other mentors that
Hmm.
are willing to give them, a path to build resilience, a path to, like, hey, like, it's not going to be easy, but there's a way you can get stronger. There's a way that you can get fit and ready for this if you're wanting to take up this challenge. I think that every generation struggles to get credibility and support and buy-in from the older generation,
Yeah.
until duty calls and we go to war. Like that.
Right.
That's ultimately the only time anybody gave us respect, was when when shit kicked off, and it's like, oh, all right, these motherfuckers are about it.
That's the litmus test, huh?
But it's like at this point in your career, what are some of the metrics that you're seeing? What are some of the successes that you're seeing across the board as you're starting to see more people come and approach and get programs and get programming from you? What are the success rates that you're seeing?
um, 2/3 or so, at least so far. We're
Yeah.
still relatively new, and giving guys enough time to have trained, completed, a training workup with us, and then going through and enlisting and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Got a couple guys in the Q course, so nobody donned their Green Beret just yet. But I have a lot of confidence in these dudes. One of the ways that I know that I have confidence in one of them is he'll just disappear from the group chat and he's at SUT. And I'm like, okay, he just Irish goodbye. He's not looking for last minute advice or help or anything like that. He goes and he's going to knock it out. He did that with selection and BLC and all the other things prior. It's just like, okay, cool, he's got it.
Yeah.
When he comes back, we'll ping him for some information for the other guys that are coming up behind him. But some of the main metrics, I think, aside from being a self-starter, they take seriously, like you said, those character traits. And, we get on group calls every Monday. We do kind of an AAR style sync with the guys that are on the program, and they kind of go over last week, next week, cover questions and kind of get them to share in a group setting maybe some of the problems that they're seeing. And typically that snowballs into other guys asking questions or building each other up. And I tell them all the time, like, yes, I'm here, or the other cadre, we're here, but there's a lot more value in each other than you guys think. A lot of them are spread throughout the country. They're little islands, and nobody around them is training or pursuing and wouldn't even understand, what it takes to want to do what they're trying to do. So for them to have this little online remote community essentially is super powerful. And I think the guys that tend to be grateful for that and lean into that tend to see more success, at least so far, in like their daily metrics, because we track all their workouts day in and day out, and make tweaks and adjustments. So that kind of humility and putting in the work and not letting your failures or your issues define you. Just coming back better the next day and being able to put in the work again.
Yeah, it's that brotherhood. That's the thing that is missing for so many people. You can't succeed in life on your own in a vacuum. Yep. When you're preparing for something like this, like, you have to rely on brothers, and now more than ever with the cell phones are a problem. Social media is a problem, but when you can utilize the tools for positives, like creating a community of support for achieving big dreams, that's huge, man. That gives everybody that extra. Then when you see your brother succeed or hit a PR or hit their goals, that amps you up. That gets you motivated. And when you're able to give that to the guys, that's a no-brainer, man. That gets them into the team room mentality before they even get there.
Yep. It helps me too, man. I'll a day in, I'll do my workouts, and like you were saying, you knocked out your training session. I'll go in the Discord server and post my results, and I'm right there shoulder to shoulder with them, and my other cadre do the same. And I think that's good for them to see that, and also, being really close to GoRuck is great, because you got so many down here in Florida. There's a lot more SF presence than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah.
But a lot of them got, are old heads, and a couple MacV SOG dudes, like,
yeah, dude.
And I've taken some of our candidates there to hang out with them. And afterwards, I'm like, so what do you think? And it's like, man, like, how can I fail now? You know what I mean? How can I quit now? You know what I mean? I got all this exposure and this experience. And a big part of it, I think they get to see, like, Green Berets are not some superheroes. Just normal dudes that set our sights high and didn't quit, and, try to improve every day. And, like, you can do it too, if you put your mind to it. And so, I really enjoy it. And it's helped me almost I would say almost as much as I think, the business, and we help them. So
that's important, man. And the other thing that I want to tap into is, how do you help the young man that doesn't make it, that has that similar experience like you did all those years ago at Buds? Like, how do you help that guy?
Yeah. It's a good segue, because I actually have a candidate who was in that circumstance or has experienced that. So he's in the Navy, and was debating with getting out of the Navy or taking this route, and went through the SFRE process and was able to go to selection with the approval of his commander and, our unit. And he got into the middle of land navigation and realized that, he valued his family more than where he thought this career was going to take him. And at his stage of his life, he was out there, and instead of thinking about the next evolution or the team or the mission, he was thinking about his wife and his children. And he kind of had a premonition that, if I'm feeling this now, how am I going to feel when I'm on a team and they're asking this and that of me, or if I'm downrange? And he's a little bit older, And I totally respected that. You know, I told him, like, I'm not gonna look down at you at all, my friend. Like, you tried, you gave it your all. And like I said earlier, like, I knew I was either going to live with the regret of not trying or try potentially and probably fail. Right. And so he went and he laid it all out on the line. And I was like, told him he can hold his head high. You know, you tried and you know it's not for you. Now you get to follow a path and be the best husband and the best father that you can be and go on and do great things, you know, somewhere else. You're still a patriot. So,
Yeah. And if it's not your path, ultimately, like, your path will you'll find it or it'll find you.
yep.
It's failure, like we said earlier, like, it's not the end all be all. And when you're out there, like, I've seen it, I went through it. I saw friends fall by the wayside, and initially you feel that gut hit too. You're like, I know this man, I know this person. Like, this sucks. It sucks for me. It sucks for them. You see them get taken off in the back of the truck, and you're like, man, like, where's life's gonna take them? Like, don't feel pity. Don't feel bad for them. Like, everything happens for a reason. Check in on your friends for everything whenever you get a chance, but understand that everybody has a path. And if they came to understanding that, hey, this wasn't for me, like, then encourage them to find the right path. Be there for them. Be able to say, hey, you know what? Hey, if it wasn't for you, it wasn't for you. But you'll figure it out. You'll figure out where you're meant to be. And that's something I don't feel enough people talk about. It's always in a negative connotation. Like, oh, he just fucking quit. Well,
Yeah.
maybe it wasn't for him. Maybe he thought about his family and decided that at 34, he'd rather figure out a better path so that he could be at home with his wife and kids. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
That's okay. But everybody has to figure that out for themselves. That's the biggest thing.
I think it's something SF does very well. It's a very professional organization, and selection is no different. The cadre are not looking down on you. You know, we talk shit and all that stuff and that fun stuff. But at the end of the day, they respect the guys that come out there and give it a shot.
Yeah.
I've had guys, you know, or another example, I guess, when my appendix ruptured and they were taking me to the hospital, one of the instructors, you know, drove me, and he's just talking to me like I'm a normal person. I'm like, what is going on right now? You know what I mean? Like, I'm a student, you know, and he's just like, hey, bro, da, 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 da. And it's just like, it's super humbling, super professional. And really, I think most guys wish well on people that tried. And there's definitely no hard feelings or anything like that.
Yeah, no, it's a hard thing to go through, and very few people want to do it. And there's no malice for anybody listening. If you're going through and you have that fear, wipe it completely away from your mind. Like, you have people that want to see you succeed. Like, very few people go out there, so everybody wants you to get through there and be your best version of yourself while you're out there. And now more than ever, man, like, you got tons of guys out there like JD that friggin' will give you every bit of prep to get there and put your best foot forward. Because at the end of the day, it's an interview process that leads to another interview process that leads to another fucking tryout,
man. Until it's an OML and you're fighting for schools or whatever, dude. Never stops
until the very end when you walk out. Because one of the greatest things I ever heard from an NCO is you rent that beret, and rents due every single fucking day. Like, it's not a feeling of like, oh, I made it. Not until you're done. Not until the very end when you walk away and you sign out and you take it home with you for the very last time to put in that shadow box. And until then, you're trying out every single day. You never know when you're not going to make it on the team, when you're not going to make it on deployment because you weren't that good and now you're on the B team.
Yeah. No, you're right.
It's that fucking stressful. No.
Don't do it. Stay away, everybody. Go to the Air Force. Do something easier.
It's not that cutthroat, but I am saying that you will be with giants. You're going to work with people that are far greater than you, and they're better than you, and they will push you to be better than yourself every single day. And that's the environment you want to be on. That's a winning football team. That's a team that's going to go to the Super Bowl. That's what you want. And you're going to constantly face challenges. So every day you're earning that beret. Every day you're earning that spot on that team. And that's what you want. You don't want to be the guy that takes it lightly and just thinks, I fucking made it, because that guy doesn't try hard.
Right.
He doesn't give everything.
Right.
Earn it every single day.
Every day, man.
Earn it as soon as you walk in and you fucking check in and get to your cage. Like, work hard to earn it every single day, and be understanding that there is a greater force out there that helped you. And build all those pillars, man.
Yep.
Mind, body, and spirit. You're not gonna make it through this journey without all three. I know. I tried and I failed fucking miserably. But now
Take
I
it
have,
from me.
yeah, now I have all three. And I will tell you, one of the greatest things you can do before you start this endeavor is explore your connection with your faith. Because when everything else is taken from you, that's what you can lean on, that can recharge you. Because it's like I said earlier, it's not about the angry, the false motivation. It's that quiet resilience, that dude that understands that he's unshakable. When you look down the line and you've already been rucking for 12 miles and that cadre looks at you and says, yeah, we got a couple more miles. But you know that they know that you're like 20 miles away from fucking the training camp. You're like, what the fuck? When you look behind at the line of dudes that are with you, look at the dude that's just quietly smiling and championing everybody up and maybe passing up some friggin' chocolate or passing up some extra candy he saved from his MRE and trying to hype everybody else up.
Yep.
That's the guy you want on your team. That's the guy you want to be. Quiet, motivation, resilience, the understanding that like no matter what they serve up, I'm going to fucking go through it because I know I'm meant for it.
Yep.
That's what you want to be, man. And man, JD, I can't thank you enough for being here. Where can people go to find out more about what you're doing?
Oh man, thank you so much. This has been a awesome conversation. I really appreciate it. So you can mainly engage with us on Instagram at fm.training_solutions is our handle, and then trainfm.com. But if you go to the website anytime soon, at least you'll see a coming soon little kind of landing page. I've got a buddy of mine reworking it since we revamped from FMF Force Multiplier Fitness to the training solution. So that's it really. Primarily though, that Instagram, hit the DMs, let me know that you found it from Denny and the Security Halt podcast, and I'll send you some stickers or something.
Hell yeah. We're going to amp the fuck out of this. You know, we put out thousands and thousands of reels. So if you're a young man out there struggling to figure out what you want to do in the soft world, you don't know how to quite approach it, dude, hit up my guy, JD. Go to the link right here, go to episode description, pause right now, click on it. Look, life isn't it's a remarkable journey. And I will tell you right now, if you're a young man filled with doubt about what to do, take a moment, do some research, figure out if the military's for you. And if it is, go to selection. Try being a Green Beret. Sign up for the 18X program. Be willing to test your mettle. Be willing to figure out if it's right for you. And if you're an older candidate, if you're an older person and you've been out there and you've struggled through life, you've had some failures, you've had some successes, and you got that wild hair growing in your ass, let me tell you, being a Green Beret is for you. There's nothing greater than that seasoned guy. Man, I will tell you, I have teammates from various walks of life, guys that went and got their bachelor's and masters from maybe amazing universities. I've had dudes that were chemical engineers. I've had dudes that had entire careers, were entrepreneurs with businesses. And I tell you that the spirit and the drive to do something impossible lives within every man. I 100% believe that calling can take us to become a firefighter in midlife. It can take us to become an EMS professional, EMT professional. But a lot of guys get called to become a special forces operator. There's nothing wrong with it. Be willing to try. Look at the age requirements. If you meet the age requirements, fucking jump. Hit up JD, figure out a training plan, and go for it, man. Life is short. Life is not guaranteed to go perfectly for everybody. And the last thing you want to do is to be on your deathbed wishing that you would have become a badass 18 Bravo, 18 Charlie, 18 Echo. So do yourself a favor and try. Why the fuck not? Why sit at home and play the video game when you can do the real thing right now?
Exactly.
JD, thank you so much, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. Again, please hit up my man on Instagram. You'll see the link in episode description or here. JD, one last time, where can they go to link up with you?
Yep. That would be Instagram at fm.training_solutions or trainfm.com. Pretty soon that'll be up and running, and they'll be able to sift through that the website and contact us through there.
There you go, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. JD, thank you for being here. We'll see you all next time. Till then, take care. Security Halt Podcast is proudly sponsored by Titans Arms. Head to the episode description and check out Titans Arms today.